Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Everyone, and happy Friday. It's Becky Brown, and I am with Dr. Alice Benton and Mark Cameron, who's joining us from California. How are you guys?
We're doing very well.
Doing fantastic, yep. Becky.
Listen, it's a holiday weekend. I mean, you're not going to get a day off of work or anything, but we are celebrating fathers this weekend, and it is a noble, I don't want to say it's a job, but it's a noble calling. How about that? That sounds really good. And since, Alice, you and I are not fathers, never will be, let's ask the expert in the room. Mark, what's it like to be a good father, and what does it take?
Oh man, it's such hard work to be a good dad. I was thinking about this, that I think there's the good, the bad, and I'm not going to say the ugly, I'm going to say the hard of being a father, right? I think, and I'll start with the bad here. The bad is learning to recognize when we make mistakes, right? And learning just our limitations and our insecurities, and then learning when to apologize for that, right? I think Bruce Lee said, mistakes are always forgivable if one has the courage to admit them, and I love that. I think the hard comes next, right? The hard is then doing that hard work to recover and gain that security and repair and fix those mistakes. And sometimes that might be getting into therapy or getting into a life group or getting into a recovery group. And I think if you can do the, you can cope with the bad and you can do the hard, I think that's when you get to the good, right? And the good is the fruit that you see from that, right? From being the model. And I've had a few examples of this lately, and it just warms my heart. My daughter's gone visiting her, some extended family, and I've just had the sweetest text messages from her recently. And then not too long ago, she was in a speech class and she had to give her testimony as one of her final speeches. And just to hear her prep that before to me, ask me, hey, can I tell you my testimony speech? And that's real. That's not something that we've told her, hey, this is your testimony, this is her testimony. And that's just the great thing about being a dad, I think.
Well, Alice, you had a father. You have a father. And you have a husband who's a father. And what do you admire in both of those people in your lives?
I want to say more about that. Our weaknesses and our mistakes being our secret strength, if we learn how to deal with them well and share and reveal them to our children. Some of my best conversations with my own dad, my papa, have been when he's allowed me to talk about how some of his behavior, some of his actions have negatively impacted me. And he let me cry with him. And he was just a good listener without minimizing or without negating what I had been through. Even if he didn't agree with me, he let me talk about it. We often do Mylan and Kay's comfort circle in our home. And when my husband also brings his apologies to our son in particular, I think fathers to boys, but it's as important for our daughters as well. When we let our children share those emotional wounds that we have perpetrated intentionally or unintentionally, there is such an influx and infusion of grace and a growing of the relational bond. In Christianity and in parenting, our weaknesses are our greatest strengths if we allow God to use them as a channel of His grace.
It's so powerful, and we have so much to give when it comes to the healing process. Here at New Life, we always want you to have healthy relationships, and where it comes to your father's relationship, we have a great book, and for a gift of any amount through the month of June, we'll give you Making Peace with Your Father by Dr. Dave Stoop. And Dave was a great father, and he wrote about his relationship with his father that wasn't so great. But it has helped so many people. I just recently gave it to a friend of mine whose birth father, who had been out of her life, suddenly reemerged, and she wasn't quite sure what to do with this relationship. And this book helped her get that process. So for a gift of any amount, you can call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and get a copy, and we'll be right back answering your calls.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, July 15th through the 17th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online to newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I know we've got some single dads out there, and if you want, you can give us a call. We have a free tip sheet, 10 ways to reduce the stress of single parenting. We want you to have some insight into that. And if you want a copy of that, you can give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and get it free. Right now, we are going to take a call from Beth, who's calling us from Boise, Idaho, listens on KBXL. We're so glad you called. Beth, how can we help you today?
Hi, I have a question. How do I reconnect with my daughter who in January said that she is relieving me as her mother? Now, this has been somewhat of a habit that she has used throughout her life. So I have that question.
Okay, Beth, how old is she?
She is 46 or so.
Okay, and are you in the proximity of her, like down the road or same state?
2 hours away, same state.
Okay, all right. Alice, Mark, who wants to start?
Yeah, Beth, I'm curious. When she says she's relieving you of being her mother, what does she mean? Does she mean that she doesn't need you to parent her anymore? What do you think she means by that?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I have been helping her with challenges that she's had. She had been living in a cabin that had black mold in it, and so I bought her a travel trailer. She, in December, had a surgery, female surgery. She had endometriosis, but she had that done, and then she had asked me if she could borrow a huge sum of money, and I, at that time, could not do that because I was moving and having to purchase a new home. So I'm not sure. Maybe it would be all related to me being willing to give her what might help her, but I don't believe that I've ever been, not ever, but have not been in that role of really mothering her.
So was she angry at you for not loaning her the money when she said, I'm relieving you of being my mother now?
I did not read her whole long text. At the end, I said, is this because I didn't lend you the money? And she said no.
Yeah, I would ask her more about that, but she's 40 years old, Beth. I would also give her some of what she wants here. She's an adult now. She doesn't need you to parent her. She doesn't need you to bail her out all the time. And sometimes we need to allow people to struggle to see if they can recover. And sometimes we deal with codependency when we don't allow that to happen, when we can't tolerate that inside. How is that for you to be able to watch your daughter struggle to see if she can recover? Can you do that?
Not that, it's not that hard because I have seen her when she has called, because she doesn't, it's not like an all the time kind of thing. I would pray about it and I would help. She has apparently had a lot of challenges. She has a daughter that's going bisexual, and as we talked, I would get confused about the pronouns to use, and that was a bit offensive to her. And I mentioned, I think of my granddaughter this way, and I don't mind that, but I have challenges to remind myself, especially when I'm talking with you. So there were some challenges with that. And yet I heard on your show the other day where you were sharing, don't let too much time go. In the past, as my grandchildren were young, she would cop an attitude with me, and I wouldn't see them. She would say, you won't see them for years now. And that is what happened. It would take years for her to come back and say, oh, I realized I was wrong. Mom, would you forgive me? Yes, I will. Let's build up
my
our
suggestion,
relationship.
Beth, would be to try and sit down with her and see if you can clarify your role in her life with her, what her expectations are for you, and maybe what you're willing to give and what you're willing to do too. What do you think, Alice?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Beth, it sounds like if you displease your daughter, she maybe punishes you and protects herself by cutting off relationship for a period of time. And I think there may be some character immaturity in her, that perhaps she relies on you too much for financial support. And at times you've been very generous. And I don't get the sense that she's appreciative of your generosity. She just expects more. Does my description somewhat fit what you've experienced with her?
Yes, in some ways, yeah.
So there are two approaches I think we can take in addition to what Mark has said. One is to look at our behavior as parents. At times, did we give too much to our children, perhaps more than was even good for them and for their maturation process, in order to keep the peace with our child? And if we have done that, then we've maybe set them up to expect us to continue to do it. And so it's a shock and a disappointment when we don't give the money that they've asked for, even if you couldn't, or it wasn't good for your daughter to do so at the time. So adding to that, identifying how we've handled our children's displeasure and their wants and their needs, we can also look at, well, I know I'm an imperfect mom. So I know that there were times that I don't read the whole text message, or there are times that I didn't ask questions about why she was doing what she's doing. And perhaps my lack of investigation there, my lack of ongoing curiosity was hurtful to my child. And if we're willing, Beth, to bring a confession to our children of what we realize we did poorly and an invitation to them, would you tell me what it's like to have been my daughter? What have been the good things and what have been the struggles with me? Now, she may not be willing to do that at this point, but even giving the invitation opens up the possibility of a future conversation.
That's right. I love that. And we're going to send you a copy, Beth, of Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers. Your openness to your daughter is going to open some doors. And it's tough, but I think your willingness is there, and I think that's going to make a difference. You know, one of the things about being a mom is that you're fair game for the stuff that others, what your daughter's struggling with. And so all we can do is just offer that opportunity to be in relationship. And I hope that something that Alice or Mark had to say will be helpful to you. We're going to talk to Scott now, who's calling us from Albany, New York, listens on WHAZ. Hi, Scott. We're glad you called. How can we help you today? Hi, Scott. Are you there?
Hi, I am.
Hi. I'm glad you called. How can we help you today?
Well, I'm in a bit of distress with my family and my wife. I'm going to try to hold my composure because my heart's in on this in a big way. So, I'm almost 40 years old. We're a military family. We're not in anymore. We're out. but that was most of our lives married. We've been married for 14 years. We have a 2-year-old, we have a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old, all boys. And, I know marriages have struggles, but this seems unusually difficult. I try to describe briefly without using up a lot of time, but my situation is we have conflict a lot in our relationship. I feel there is a big, huge lack of respect towards me that usually leads to conflict, or it may be something else. I'm not sure. But there has a tendency of it escalating quickly, and it goes completely outside the bounds of normalness, and I won't act like I'm not guilty of reacting wrongly at times or pouring into the situation badly, especially when it's in its intense moments of conflict. We've all said things and have done things that I'm sure that we regret. The application-wise with all of this is we have been to counseling sessions. We've made mistakes in the past of not attending with a Christian counselor, which I've learned, through time that was not the right move. We've been to the Weekend to Remember. We've been blessed by another older couple when we lived out west. They moved into our lives with the church, got us involved with these, like the Weekend to Remember, sent us off to it because they were a part of it. Application of those things, the How We Love series, all of this stuff, we've attended with them in their home.
Scott,
video series, books.
I'm going to interject a question. You've done so much work to try to figure this out. If I were to ask your wife, tell me what's been frustrating for you within your marriage, what do you think she would say?
Probably my husband's anger. And I'm being as straightforward, not guessing. I know a lot of what's going on here. And, just like other people have thought, I know what the solution is, but I can't get it to happen by myself.
What do you think the solution is, Scott? What do you think the solution is, Scott?
I don't think, I'd like to say if I'm just not angry, but again, there's more to it than that.
Mm-hmm. Scott,
more to it than
what
her
have
getting
you done
exactly what she wants out of it.
Scott, what have you done to deal and manage with your anger?
Pray when the situation starts to arise. Try to talk it down out of it. It's try to do something different when she hits the big red button and then stands on the red button and stomps on the red button.
Yeah, it sounds like
not just react in anger each time.
Yeah, it sounds like you might need a little bit more targeted help, Scott. And I hear you saying that you're ex-military. You've been in these war zones, likely this high conflict. I can just hear the anxiety and the hard to breathe in your voice. Just even recollecting your conflict, I can hear it just stirring all of that up inside you. And I would encourage you to find a group or a counselor that can help you learn how to regulate your body system. Because what's happening in those moments of conflict is it sounds like you're getting so ramped up, and then you're reacting from this place of anger and fear.
And she's getting ramped up too.
Right,
so
correct.
Of course
she's
it's
matching.
hard to regulate when she brings anger into these conversations as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
the challenge too, when you have anger as the go-to, and it can be related to, I don't know if you've had frontline military service or if this is from your family of origin, but it can be our normal state and it's just below the grade. And so then anything that comes up, that's where we go to. And then you get frustrated because you can't get to the resolution. Have you ever acted out physically with your family?
Slamming my hands or, throwing things. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That would be yes. All right. And have you ever thought, you know what, I need to probably talk to somebody about this anger issue I have?
Yes. And I have been in touch with the VA on these things. However, just not to sway it, I'll still go in the direction you guys are guiding. However, I don't feel that is the primary issue, because even in the midst of a conflict, if she chooses, and it's not all on her, I don't mean to make it sound this way when I say this, when she goes into cooperative mode, like, let's work through this. And there is some of the validation, like I notice you folks in your habits are to validate people on the phone. That's the very first thing you do.
Right.
And it's hugely important. It's like the number one thing to negotiation, and I understand that. The difficulty is, even if I don't go straight to anger, I may try 4, 8, 12 times in a row different ways to talk through calmly the situation, or even give it space. That space is taken advantage of, and the person doesn't ever want to come back to it. So when I do,
okay, well, Scott,
it's rejected yet again and again. Sorry.
All right, no. We're going to go to a break. You can hear the music, but we don't want you to go anywhere. In the break, you can take a couple of big, deep breaths, and we do hear you, and we want to help you. We'll be right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
You know, Scott, you had said before that we do affirm folks.
Hello, welcome back to New Life Live. We're talking with Scott. And Scott, I wanted to follow up with you to make sure we understand what you believe to be the primary part of the problem. We know that part of it's disrespect. Would you add more? What else do you think is the root to the marital problem?
I think that we both have, just like the How We Love series identifies the different love styles, which is the background of who we are based on what we were exposed to as a child and on up from there. I think there's triggers for us both, and we trigger each other massively, and it turns into just a situation she doesn't want to be a part of, and she just flees from it, which creates more frustration and abandoned feelings in me.
Would you say that she's an avoider?
Yes, like mastery level.
And what do you think your style is?
I don't mean disrespect by that.
I'm an avoider too. We all need to know what our style is. What do you think yours is, Scott?
Sure. I hate to say it because it's been used so against me ever since the study. I suppose it was identified as a vacillator,
okay.
But I hate being labeled that because I don't feel like I need it any more than any normal loving person does. Just the presence, the minor care of another person, you know.
I work with a lot. I work with a lot of vacillator, Scott, and I am a recovering vacillator. And you want to know what? I feel the same way because part of the vacillator wound is shame. And to be able to even admit that you're a vacillator carries that negative label. And you don't even want to admit it because you don't want to be bad, because you struggle with that.
And if it's been weaponized and used against you, even worse.
Correct.
So how can you help
But
him,
we
Mark?
can't change something unless we acknowledge it about ourselves. And so the way I moved past that was to be able to tell myself, okay, that is my imprint, that is my default, that is my go-to. But do you know what? I'm going to be in recovery now. And being in recovery doesn't mean that I'm all of a sudden secure. It means that I'm working my way out of it. And shame makes us want to run and hide. And you know how you take the power of shame away? Is just by exposing it. If you can say, yeah, I'm a vacillator, and yes, I have a shame wound, and it makes me feel bad, that can be powerful in being able to take that away. And you know what? You've identified that you guys trigger each other. And we were talking at the break here that you were talking about that she pushes that red button. And so part of your growth here is learning how to take that button away, right? We have to, before you can solve conflict, you have to learn how to not react. You cannot react and respond at the same time. You have to learn how to not react before you can respond. And you've been trained in the military. I'm sure you've been trained in high conflict situations how to respond, but also your body has been trained in those war zone, those real life situations to also respond in a certain way. And that's happening when you're getting triggered. And so it's learning to do some of that work in acknowledging that you're a vacillator, acknowledging what your wounds are, and starting to work through those. And as you work through those triggers and realize what they are, they'll start to lessen. But it's a long journey. It is a long journey.
And it requires being able to access and talk about the fear and the grief below the anger, because anger is an emotion that feels much safer than the vulnerability of fear and grief. So what my hope is that you and your wife could get to the point, and it may only be able to happen in the therapeutic office, to be able to say, I know my anger has frightened you. And those times that I've hit the wall, the times that I've thrown something, you were scared. And I think you're still scared about how angry I'll get. I also have felt fear when you've withdrawn from me. Can you hear what it feels like when you stop talking with me? Or when you raise your voice at me? Can you hear me out on that? And sometimes we need a third party to be able to help navigate that conversation, because it's so frightening. And usually if we dig down deep enough, there's a fear that you will leave me or you will reject me. And that base fear, yes, go ahead. That you can relate to that.
No, I can, because the rejection is real. It's not just the fear of it. It's in the moment. It's every day. And I don't mean to sound like a super vacillator, because again, I hate to even admit that, because everybody still has needs to be validated, and that's why that whole circle of comfort's established. I don't feel like I want anything more than that, just for each other. I want to provide it too. So I guess I would also ask this, at this point, with what you know, the meat and potatoes of the situation, and I'm sure you can add to the situation with your assumptions and knowing the rest of everything else that fills in all those voids through this whole process, is I'm looking at a marriage intensive, and if she's willing, maybe I need to stop trying to fix this and just go there with her if she's willing.
Well, yeah, of course, Scott, we're going to say that. I would
certainly
say yes,
supportive
for sure.
of you taking that approach, Scott, because we find that one helps to lower the defenses of a spouse the best. When, even though it's risky, when we're able to say, I want to go to this intensive with you because I value our marriage. I don't want to lose you. And I know that what I've done so far is not fixing this, and I still need help with my anger. Would you be willing to come with me? And although that takes the burden of the responsibility on your shoulders, Scott, it makes it more likely that your wife will accept your invitation and come, and then get the help she needs for being an avoider, because that's also very hurtful. So yes, we do encourage you to give her that invitation.
And we're going to be... Well,
we're coming to an end.
Part of the leadership.
Is that part of leadership? Absolutely. Leadership is
the
being...
leadership that I have to take.
It's being willing, yes, to be humble and to take on the burden of responsibility first, and for a while to be able to help your wife do the same. Scott, we're so grateful that you called, and we will be right back at 1-800.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. July 22nd to the 24th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship. And then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I think some of what Scott was sharing.
Hello and welcome back again to New Life Live. Scott, we want to send you a resource, and that's The Soul of a Hero by Dr. Dave Stoop. Because again, as leaders, we sometimes need to be sort of the sacrificial lamb for our family, even though all the fault does not belong to us. But that is what a hero is willing to do. And sometimes that then allows a spouse to follow the lead of a hero like you, Scott. So thank you so much for your willingness. And thank you for your call. And we want to go now to Megan, who is calling us from Charlotte, North Carolina, on Sirius XM.
I'm talking now.
There we go. And welcome back, Becky.
Well, I've been talking, but for whatever reason, the Lord has shut my mouth, and that's a good thing sometimes. But I am agreeing with you, Alice, that we are going to go to Megan, who's calling us from Charlotte, North Carolina, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Megan. I'm glad you called. How can we help you today?
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh, hi, yes. And I just came a ministry partner a couple of months ago, so y'all have definitely been a blessing.
Thank you.
So my question, thank you. So my question is, I have an adult child in her 20s that has just started a relationship with a guy that's also in his 20s. She was raised up in church. He was not. He believed in God, but he doesn't have a church affiliation. My question is, how can I get them to start the foundation of their relationship with God back in church, but not being aggressive or overbearing? Because my daughter, like I said, I had her in church ever since she was a baby. It's not that she stopped going. It's like she has focused more on him, but just to get her to, just come back. So just need your thoughts.
It's a great question.
Megan, is your daughter coming to you for advice, or you're just thinking about, you're concerned, and so you want to talk to her more about what you see as dangers of dating a non-Christian and where that could lead?
She's come to me for advice, not about church, but just some other things. They both have young children that's the same age, so they've been having a really good time with their children and interacting with each other's child. But I did bring up about, hey, you was raised up in church, and I've been wanting you to come back to church because in every aspect of our lives, we need God. I don't care whether it's relationship, work, finances. We need God first in everything. She understands that, but she doesn't want to push him. She did tell him that I invited them to church to come together, but he was saying he will go. He just have not put in the effort, and she hasn't pushed either. So,
what's your biggest concern, Megan, about their relationship?
With what she's been saying, I don't want them to be moving too quickly, because I know she's complaining about the rent, how rent has gone up a lot. She has not said it to me, but she said it to my mom, kind of insinuating that, hey, it might be a good idea if down the road we come together, we live together. And that's my concern, moving too fast. So that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, it's hard when our kids become adults. I'm not all the way there yet, but my kids are 16 and 17, so I'm going to have to start to come to terms with that they're going to have to start to make some of their own decisions here, and I'm going to be able to sometimes see when they're going down the road or when the train's going to crash, and learn how to be able to give advice or give caution without being too overbearing, and also letting them learn from their mistakes, because that's part of growth too, is nobody has ever learned without making a mistake. But I do understand that tension there that you have between, you can see where some of this is going and you don't want her to get into that pain. It sounds like you have a pretty good relationship with your daughter in the sense that you guys can talk. Is that correct?
Yes, we have our moments, but I thank God that even when she has times that she doesn't want to talk to me, that she eventually, so she'll say something to my mom first, then next thing I know, she'll come to me and say, hey, Mom, got this. Because another big thing that happened in her life, and y'all just don't know, y'all have blessed me even with this, because I remember a caller called in about the same thing, and I was like, listen, like, this is my story too. Her father just got out of prison after serving over 20-some years for drugs. So he just re-entered her life earlier this year. So, and even trying to navigate through that. And she was, coming to me for advice on how to cope and how to adjust. So, yeah, now she got this new relationship. So, yeah, but yeah, we have our moments, but God always send her back to me.
Well, let's hear what Alice has to say. Alice, what do you offer?
Megan, I want to praise you for being a single mom for your daughter's entire life practically, and being able to give her so much faith and such a model on your own part. What a difficult road you've had to navigate as a single mom. I also wonder if you, like me, if you were perhaps imperfect in your own dating years. I was a Christian, and I thought a strong Christian in my dating years. Girl, I didn't live by my standards. I got so many mistakes I could tell you about. Were you ever imperfect in dating as I was?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So you can relate to me. So I find that one of the best ways of parenting, and we actually talked about this at the beginning of the show, is sharing our weaknesses and our mistakes with our children rather than, and more perhaps, than pointing them to the standard that they're missing. So I'm sure you've done this before, and I just invite you to do it again, to go to your daughter and share with her that you haven't always lived by your standards, and that you haven't been perfect in your own mothering and in your own dating years. And sharing those stories will help keep that emotional safety in the relationship. And I think one of the best ways of preaching about God to an adult child is not talking about God very much at all, and just living out the love and welcome and openness, trying to build relationship with your daughter's boyfriend, looking for the good in him and praising him. And it's by acting out of that style that we saw Jesus live where he loved so quickly, where he welcomed. He asked a lot of questions rather than doing a lot of preaching. And that was one of the ways that he helped people come in close to him to then be able to share more of the truth with them. So I'd lean heavily on that side of investing in relationship with your daughter.
Yeah.
And Megan,
sorry, Becky. I agree with that, because I think if you preach too much and then she makes a mistake, she may be hesitant to come to you to share that mistake. But if you can share in your experience of your mistakes and be vulnerable with that, I think she'll be more willing to come to you when she makes a mistake. Go ahead, Becky. Sorry about that.
Well, thank you, Mark. I was just going to say, one way to do all of what they're talking about is to move in closer, so that you have both of them over for dinner and you build a relationship with both of them. The other thing too, Megan, I've launched a few kids myself. I'm a grandma now, but there are going to be things that they do that you're not going to like. And the challenge that you have in that is how to stay connected, because she's going to make poor choices. We're human. We make really poor decisions, as Alice was talking about in our past. But even in our future, there's going to be things that aren't exactly what we had in mind. But you want to stay connected. And so that's why in building this relationship, you're going to have them both over for dinner. You're going to, invite both of them in, because eventually if they do get married, this is what your future looks like. But I just want to encourage you in that way as well. And thank you for being Club New Life as well. I hope somebody else will be inspired by what you have to say. And do you guys have a book in mind that you would recommend for Megan?
How We Love Our Kids?
I actually was thinking How We Love Our Kids for her, and How We Love for her daughter.
Yeah.
And and that would be a great gift for her as she begins this new life ahead. But that's what I think.
Yep.
What do you guys
Good
think?
idea.
You think that's good?
I like
Okay,
that.
great. All right. Well, thank you, Megan, for calling. And there's it's always something. That's what we say here at New Life all the time. But we want to stay connected in our families, because that's where your influence can make such a difference. And somebody who's been a big influence in my life is Larry Sonnenberg, and he's with us in the studio, and he's going to talk to us after the break. But I'm just glad you're there, Larry.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I love that you talked to a Club New Life member. We'll talk more about that after the break.
That's great. Well, and we've got all kinds of resources, and we can help you with what you're struggling with. You can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And, if you need a book, if you need a group, if you need a counselor, maybe you want to go to one of the workshops. You've thought about it many times, and we've got all different kinds. We've got everything from Every Man's Battle. We've got Restore. We have Intimacy in Marriage. And we'll also have Emotional Freedom coming up at the end of the year. But, in any workshop, I can tell you, it makes such a difference. You have great teaching. You've got great group breakouts with a counselor, and all comes up to a transformed life. We'll be right back.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Washington, D.C., July 8th to the 10th. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. Hurry, early bird pricing ends June 24th. Plus, save an extra $50 with the code WAVA50. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Just in case you were wondering where we went on a break, but we are back and we're glad you are back. And joining us in the studio is Larry Sonnenberg. I said that he was a big influence in my life, and I know he's influenced a lot of people to support New Life, and it's made such a difference. And because of your gifts and your giving, you were able to hear us, and we're so grateful. But Larry, what else do you have for us today?
Well, I don't think I've influenced enough people. We have a big chunk to
well, get to work.
Get this matching gift matched, and it's not our duty to get it matched. We're just asking folks to consider what New Life is and has been for them and give towards it, and then let the gift be matched. But I have a testimony, and it's from a Club New Life member. That's why I said you'll hear more about that after the break. She writes, I've been a Club New Life member for a long, long time. I have a listen to the boys mug. I have learned how to get to the real issue by asking the right questions just by listening to the hosts. They're so good at it. This has helped me so much as a Bible teacher, mother, grandmother, and now great-grandmother. I've mentored and am continuing to mentor a young woman through a heartbreaking divorce. I couldn't do it without you. We also have been to Alaska, Israel, and Ireland with New Life. New Life listeners are the best people to travel with. Well, I want to talk to that with regards to an upcoming trip we have planned, and that is our river cruise on the Rhine in October. And if you have never traveled with us, this is an ideal first opportunity, because on this boat, the Ama Lucia, it's a Ama Waterways cruise that starts in Amsterdam and goes to Basel, Switzerland. Everybody on that ship will be somebody that knew or was invited by and cares for New Life. So it's a fun group of people. Stephen Milan will be speaking on it every day. The theme is Psalm 145, the greatness of God. It's just a wonderful, wonderful trip. And we need you to sign up. We have some cabins left. We need to fill those. We had to charter the entire ship, which means we're on the hook to pay for that ship. So and we don't budget this in our general operating fund. This is budgeted solely through the people who sign up to go along with us. So please consider joining that trip. Please consider giving a gift to New Life. And Becky, you've been on trips. What would you have to say about all that?
Well, the one thing that I think I could say is that a lot of people like to travel, but they don't really know who to go with. And we've had some folks that have joined our travels over the years who just did a Google search on, like a trip to Israel or a river cruise, like what we're going to do. And then they stumbled onto New Life and then became friends with us and are now partners and supporters of New Life because they believe in what we do. Because we are who we are all the time. It's not like, we're different on the program than we are in real life. But, for this cruise, one of the things that I think is really significant is that the whole ship will be New Life folks. And so, sometimes people don't like to travel because there's people out there, right? I know that sounds terrible, but, maybe you want to take a cruise with some folks that are like-minded and can be encouraging to one another. And the reason why we selected, that psalm as our goal is because some of the incredible beauty that you're going to see on this trip. And, we've been shut in for a while, so you need to get out there and see some stuff. So I hope that you will join us on this cruise. And you can call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and find out the information, or go to newlife.com and click on the link that has all the information for the cruise.
Can I say something else about the cruise?
Of course.
Rhonda and I were blessed because in 2019, we went on this cruise as an advance to see what it was going to be like and to check it out. It's different going to different countries, and the first time we'd ever used this cruise line. So we went on this cruise, and it was astounding. Every day was special, but there was one day outside going through this gorge where you see all these castles and homes and churches, and it was just phenomenal. And we have a video that I would love to send to anybody that wants to hear about this trip or see it. It's about 20 minutes long, I think, and it just talks about all the ports of calls and what's special about it. So if you're interested in seeing that, I wasn't planning on this. Email me.
Just call us, or email. Yeah, you
email
can.
me at larrys@newlife.com, and we'll send you a link to that video.
That's wonderful. We like to travel, but we also like to help people, and sometimes that happens all at the same time on these trips. So, give us a call and be part of it. I wanted to return in the last couple minutes. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that subject of anger. I was able to work on our devotional Steve and I did with 100 Days of Freedom from Anger. And you might think that may be impossible, but Mark and Alice, I know you both were talking about some of those root causes of anger. And I also think that anger shows up, and we know anger shows up in different ways. It's not just slamming and throwing things. But do you guys have any advice for people whose anger might be governing their life and they may not even realize it because they're not throwing things or they're not reactive? I know I threw that on you, but I figured you'd have something to add.
One of the litmus tests is if relationships are not working well in our lives. And there can be so many different reasons why that's taking place. But if you're not sure if you're angry or not, or if you handle your anger well, look at the state of your relationships. If you have a lot of close, intimate relationships and people feel like they can be honest with you and they can bring struggles and they can bring complaints and criticism, you probably are handling your anger pretty well. If people need to walk on eggshells around you, if they have to sugarcoat everything, or they avoid difficult conversations and difficult topics, if you're not as close to people as you wish you were, then consider, am I perhaps presenting with anger in a way that's keeping people at arm's length from me?
That's great insight. Mark?
Yeah, and I think one of the greatest gifts that we can give each other actually is feedback, and to be brave enough to ask others for feedback. It's a real source of humility to be able to do that, especially with your family members, to ask them, do I seem angry? And I've actually given permission to my kids to be able to say that, to let me know when I seem angry. And sometimes they tell me, sometimes my daughter will say to me, Dad, are you mad right now? And it's a good prompt for me to say, no, I'm not. Or just to even think about it and think, am I mad right now? What's going on? Because for some reason it's coming off to her that I seem really, I'm seeming annoyed.
So you didn't say, no, I'm not angry.
Well, if I did, I soon realized that.
Well, that's a great reflection too, is just to give her the opportunity to ask you the question. And, in light of the fact that it is Father's Day weekend, and I'm not saying just dads, there's a lot of mad moms out there too, but, you just have to ask yourself, what am I mad? Am I angry about something? And whether it's past, present, or maybe even I'm angry about something that I have no control over, which is typical. But we want to help you have freedom from that anger. So maybe you want to give that devotional. It's a little cute little blue book, but it'll take you through 100 days and have some scripture involved with it. But I think it'll encourage you. I'm so grateful that you joined us today. If you need anything, give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, whether it's a workshop, whether it's the Rhine River Cruise, or you need a counselor or finding a life recovery group. We also have a life recovery conference that's going to come up in September that you can be part of. It's going to be online, and we'll have more information, but you can find it all at newlife.com. So grateful to you, Alice and Mark and Larry, for being my sidekicks today. As sometimes you just never know what's going to happen, but we're confident that God goes before us and will give us what we need for each day, and we just have to ask as well. So if you need anything, give us a call. But thanks for joining us today. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Alice.
Thanks,
thank you, Larry.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.